What is up, guys, and welcome back to the Sweat It Out podcast. Today we have a special guest and a friend of mine. If you haven't seen him on social media, killing it. If you haven't seen him on TV, killing it. This guy's everywhere. This guy's a legend in the fitness field. Welcome, brother, Joey Thurman.
Well, that's a good intro. I used to be everywhere. Now I can't really be anywhere. So I'm everywhere online and just doing throwbacks and flashbacks to when I was on TV.
Yeah, we were kind of touching upon that before we went live. So why don't we just kind of continue that conversation? How's that transition been for you? You're kind of mentioning, getting all your clients to use up all of their in-person sessions and then, shifting fully onto the online platform. So, kind of tell everyone who's listening, going to be watching this on YouTube, like how was that transition been, or how has that transition been for you? And how do you see the outlook of what you're going to be doing moving forward?
Yeah. It was, I've been training since 2006, grew up doing all sorts of sports, played hockey through college. So that's kind of where, the fitness came from. And then 2006, I packed up my yellow Mustang convertible. Yeah, it was yellow. It was something else. And moved from St. Louis to Chicago and started training people and been training ever since and grinding it out, working 60, 80 hours a week, plus doing 40 to 50 personal training sessions per week.
Those days.
Yep.
Dude,
some of those days.
it's a lot. And then I trained for a corporate gym for a while, then went on my own for several years, wrote a book, and then started doing local and national TV. And I always thought that I would maintain training in some capacity and eventually just kind of phase it out where maybe I just do mornings. But with COVID and everything now in 2020, I decided to assess things when I was forced to not train anybody. I was doing some FaceTime training and online coaching too, but when you go from doing 10 to 14 training sessions a day at $150 to $200 a session, and in Chicago, that is crazy price. And then you go from
it's same thing here. So
it's crazy. Yeah. If I was to go to New York or LA, I'd be charging $300 to $500,
money.
Easy.
But you'd be paying $150 of that in 10.
Right. So yeah, I'd be paying for that. But so it was kind of one of those things where for 2 weeks, I tell you what, like I struggled with depression. I even did like a whole TED talk on it and social media and all that kind of crap. And for a couple of weeks when this happened, I thought, what the hell am I going to do? Like, woe is me, all that sort of shit. And I was like, all right, how do I get out of this funk? And I realized, let me have my depression. Let me go through whatever the hell I need to go through and feel bad about myself. Go through that and then realize, like, how can I make a change? So then that's when my wife and I had a conversation. She's like, you've wanted to get out of training for a long time because you're always doing TV, podcasts, hosting, whatever. That's how I met Anthony. And like that, traveling once, twice a month to all over the country. Like, how do I get out of this? My clients were already kind of used to me not training them because, gym was closed down. So I just decided to tear the Band-Aid off, say, hey, I'm going to come back to training for 4 weeks, only outside. I trained them as much as I could. Some stayed online. Some I gave to, other trainer friends of mine and took some referral fees from that. But, now I take this as an opportunity just to kind of pursue all the things that I was just dabbling in. Because you can't do it all at once, no matter what anybody says. So I had to rip the Band-Aid off. As I was saying, we sold our condo in downtown Chicago. I haven't seen my family in over a month. I'm quarantining right now because I went to Wisconsin to film my own custom map, which will hopefully come out in 3 months. So congrats. I was in a place, thanks guys, where there was, more people, and I wanted to make sure I'm safe. So my father-in-law is high risk, and I obviously don't want my kid to get COVID. So like, okay, I'm going to quarantine for 2 weeks, then I'll go. And then a week later, we're going to close. And then maybe I'll, buy a house in the suburbs. Maybe I'll build a gym in the garage or basement, and maybe I'll get back at training people in person. But right now, like, we have to shift and we have to adapt in our lives. And I think 2020, in whatever fucking level of Jumanji we're in right now, because like there's something else. Like every time.
I haven't heard that one, Jumanji.
I wake up every day just like, all right, here we go, roll the dice. What am I gonna say on Twitter?
Yeah, is it murder hornets? Is it riots? Is it whatever?
Yeah, that went by quick though, didn't it? That went by real fast. Where the hell did those go? They were here.
We haven't talked about any murder hornets.
No, we haven't talked about those.
So yeah, it's kind of. I just decided to leap because fortunately, I'll be crashing with my in-laws, and I'll make a good amount of money on the condo, and we'll have that money in the bank. So I won't have
Always
really,
a positive.
yeah, I think so. I have that opportunity. I won't, and I've got some money coming in from the podcast and Fatter Future, the pod course that just came out, and all sorts of different stuff. But it's nowhere near what I was making.
Of course,
nowhere near at all. So, I just had to make that shift, and that's kind of where I'm at now.
Has it been, I mean, you talked about dabbling in all these different areas, right? How has it been mentally for you to kind of, now focus on some of these things that have been taking up some of your attention, but not enough of your attention where like you can really see the return from it? So how does that feel now for you mentally, kind of maybe having a little more clarity, being able to, really streamline the infrastructure and the processes to run these other businesses that you've been starting? How has that been, kind of being able to kind of settle into all that?
Yeah, I thought I would, and any of my clients listening, I love you guys, but I thought that I would miss the in-person training so much more. And maybe months down the road, I will, because it's nice because you get different conversations and dealing with different people. And then, I'm not just training one type of person. I might train a movie star one day versus a professional athlete versus a WWE diva. So my days were completely different, or somebody that had their foot chopped off and reattached, which actually happened. So like my days were different, and I think that's what I'm going to miss. I'm going to miss that conversation. But for me, having a focus now and not necessarily having a job where I'm bringing in a ton of money at the moment, I think that focus has really just given me a sense of purpose and calm, where normally I used to be like, okay, I got to get up. I've got a client at 5 a.m. and I'm going to the gym and training 4 or 5 people. I got to get my workout in. I got to go see my son. I got to make time for my wife, give her a relief so she can go for a run and do this, then get on a podcast and then fly to New York or wherever. And I was doing that for years. And once I just took that big roadblock out, it really gave me just this sense of calm, and I wasn't expecting it.
I think we could definitely agree that, and we had a few conversations, throughout COVID, a few phone calls, and I think we could definitely agree that this has definitely been a period of being able to just as well sit back and see what's going on in ourselves, in our lives, be able to analyze and create awareness. For those who, of course, took advantage of this, who've been taking advantage of this time to create awareness for themselves, and see things like, for example, in your experience, seeing that this was probably an opportunity for you to make you realize, well, this is the moment that can get me out of some of the things that I've probably been saying I want to get out for a while. Mm-hmm. And you would have not done it if it wasn't for this. Yep. And I have to say the same thing. Like, if it wasn't for this, even though I was already slowly transitioning and I've been saying I want to transition out and I've been doing it, but this made me fully transition. It just made me realize, like, holy shit, like, this is the sign. This is what's telling me I got to get out of this, and I have to do this, and I need to put my energy into this. And I know that if it wasn't for this situation, it'd probably be still dragging on a little bit. And, why? Because, hey, you're making good money. It's something we've always known. We never have time to get around to the other stuff. And it's funny, but it's like we talk all the time. We talk to other people on our podcast, and you need these moments sometimes, and I think in our lives, to really create a new chapter and pathway towards something else that we've been wanting to do.
Yeah, and that's a very valid point, because you're right. If one good thing came from COVID, and yes, you've got 150,000 plus people dead right now in the country, and there's all that sort of stuff. That's horrible. So like, I feel for
definitely.
I feel for those families and people that couldn't say goodbye and all that. And my father-in-law's friend has been on basically life support for 3 months, and his wife wasn't able to see him. So all that stuff is absolutely horrible. So I don't want to minimize that by any means.
Definitely not.
But any time in history where there was something bad, whether it's 9/11 or somebody going to war, people come back and they assess their lives and they think about, holy shit. Like, this is, life is short. So what have I been doing? So the positive thing, and you see this all the time on social media and people talking about it, is how can I reassess my life right now? How can I use this huge negative for positive. So same thing for me. I was like, all right, I'm going to jump and hopefully I swim. And if I don't, I have that support system around me and I put these things in place, but I didn't take it lightly. I just didn't be like, hey, on Wednesday, I'm going to decide I'm going to stop training. On Thursday, I'm ripping the Band-Aid off. This was a 3.5 month decision where I had to have those conversations. And if you're married, have the conversation with your husband, wife, partner, whatever, huge. Make sure they're on board, and then everybody else around you, because it's not just affecting my wife. It's not just affecting my son. It's affecting my in-laws. It's affecting my extended family, because, you know, there's everything that trickles down. It's that snowball effect. So I had the conversation. I talked with my wife first, and I talked to my father-in-law, my mother-in-law, my mom, my dad, my sisters, to think like, what if they think that this made sense? And they all said the same thing. Even my clients, I sent out a mass text to my clients, and they're all like, we've been waiting for this. It's your time. You need to do this. So people, even though like they may have not have told you, they feel it and they're expecting some sort of big change, especially if you've been working with them for 5, 10. I mean, some people have been working for 14, 15 years. You know, so that change, sometimes you got, there was a book I read called Ready, Fire, Aim. I can't remember the author, but sometimes people wait until they can hit that bullseye. But sometimes you just got to pull the fucking trigger.
Yep.
And aim later.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I'm doing now.
Yeah, we did that. I mean, you know, we had been talking about starting this podcast for, you know, maybe a year before we started it, you know, and again, like Anthony was saying, it's just, you know, every time we'd be like, okay, we're going to have a little bit of time, something would come up and something else would come up and some, you know, and then something, and then I would get more clients or he would get more clients. And then, you know, it'd be like, oh, well, we don't have enough time to do this. And when COVID hit, we were just like, all right, well, we got all the time in the world, you know, like better do it now, better start it now, you know, and then we'll figure it out later. And the rest has been history, you know, and everything has been great. But I feel like kind of off of what you were talking about, people get in their own heads where they start second guessing these, you know, moments in their lives where they do have to make a split decision and kind of trust in themselves. I feel, at least like with the conversations I've had with some of my own friends who are now, you know, either been furloughed or lost their jobs, and they're like, well, I don't know, should I start my own thing? Should I go back to the corporate world? I'm like, listen, you know, there's no one in my own personal thought process. There's no one that I would bet on or trust more in than my own self. You know, like I'm always going to believe in the things that I do. And if it doesn't work out, then, you know, Anthony's mentioned this many times on the podcast too. Like, you know, it's just a learning experience if it's a failure, right? Like we far too often, I feel like, you know, allow the thoughts of others or how someone's going to think about us if we fail, or, you know, what if it's not the success I think it's going to be, but it's still pretty successful, and it might lead me towards another business venture that's really going to take off. Or like you were talking about with your free time, like, you know, being able to spend more time with your kid, Anthony with his daughter, you know, like all of those things are positives that you don't necessarily add into the equation when you're making these decisions about, you know, betting on yourself or going in a different direction. So I kind of wanted to get your take on, you know, do you have a similar mindset? And I mean, you know, you're obviously very successful and you've done a lot of good, not only for yourself, but your one-on-one clients and those that follow you on social media platforms and have seen you on TV and everything. Do you have a similar mindset where, like, okay, you know, like no matter what, you know, I'm going to always, you know, put the ball in my court and take the risk? Or, you know, how's that process lay out for you?
Yeah, for me, so I'm an Aquarius by nature. So February 10th is my birthday. So you guys can send me early birthday gifts. But so always send me something.
I don't know if you want the birthday gifts that Mendez sends out, man. I've got a couple of those already. And
this guy.
You know, like, so for me, I used to I'm a dreamer, and I love that I'm a dreamer, but at the same time, it's got me in a ton of trouble. Like when I did my TED Talk, it was called Like Me, Follow Me on Brand Me. And I talked about how I spent more on social media marketing and advertising than I spent on 5 years of college. And yes, wow. 5 years of college. So it's 30 something $1,000 because I did all this sort of stuff and marketing and doing whatever and blah, blah, blah. And then when I put that, my wife's like, you spent $30,000. And I'm like, she's like, that affects us too. I'm like, no, it's my business. And she's like, but it's our money. And like, I was like, whoa, okay. So then that was one of the big like slaps in the face. I'm like, okay, I can't just jump all the time. So for me, yeah, I started assessing these things. And, as I said, when COVID happened, I'm like, okay, I need to take things step by step. I need to have my process. And before, I would just get in this kind of depressive funk and really just not tell anybody about it. But now, like when I'm not feeling good, I'm open about it. Like, hey, I'm having a bad day today, whether it's my wife or whoever. So they know that it's not them. They didn't do something. So one, I acknowledge it. However I'm feeling, I absorb it. Then from there, like, okay, how long are these feelings going to, this is momentary. Okay. So maybe it's an hour, maybe it's a day, maybe it's a week. A week later, is that feeling still there? How am I feeling? Have I talked about for years getting out of training? Yes, I have. Am I going to miss my client? Yes. Did a client just call me up and say he wants to pay me $200 an hour? Yes. But I made that decision. I thought about it. So I'm going through this whole thing and just pros and cons, and I had to write everything down. So I looked at the pro and cons list. And a huge pro, let's talk about Josh, is my son. I got to see him grow up in a way I've never got to see him before. Normally I'm at the gym at 5 a.m. I'll train 6 or 7 clients. Maybe I'll come home for an hour or two. Often he's napping during that time. Then my wife would like do whatever she needs to do and have her hour or two. Then I'll go back to work until 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And I wouldn't see him. And for the first few weeks when I was home, he would get up and he'd run. He'd say, Baba, Baba's home, which Baba in Greek is dad. And I was like, holy crap. This is new to him because I'm not home normally. So that right there is worth its weight in gold. And that's when I started realizing, man, I always said like, oh, I don't want to move to the suburbs of Chicago. I don't want to do this. And we used to live in the suburbs. And even if I trained people out there, I could only charge half the price or whatever. But you know what? Yeah, maybe I'm only charging $100 in the suburbs instead of 200 downtown. But for me to have 5-6 hours with my son every day and get to see him grow up during the times of your life where your brain can absorb the most and remember the most. We learn the most from 0 to 3 than in the entire time of our extended adult life. He's 2.5. So his first memories, I want his memories to be, I remember my dad being home. I remember him working out with my mom. I remember him with Yaya and Papu. I remember that. He's not going to remember being in house for COVID, but he's going to remember when his dad was home. And that is huge. And so the $100,000 that I lost this year from not being able to travel, I calculated it. It hurt when I did that calculation. But how much is it worth that time for me being able to see my son and spend the time with my wife and get to know her better? So that, to circle back to answer your question, man, yeah, there is no price on that. And yes, we need to make money and we need to have a roof over our head. We need to pay the bills and all that sort of stuff. But if you can get by and have that time with the people that truly follow you and that you influence besides like, I'm an influencer. What the fuck does that mean?
You sell fit tees and waist trainers and
right. Like
Herbalife.
Yeah. So like who do you influence in your life?
Right.
In your tangible life. You can touch, you can feel those fucking people that you talk to, the people that it's midnight and you're feeling bad and you text them. Yes, it's great to have all these followers and stuff on social media, but the people that you influence, we can't forget about. So Josh, like that, yes, I do that. And I didn't do that. When my son was born, like I need to work. I was having 7 jobs when he was first born.
Wow.
Because I just thought I need to make all this money and pile up all this money, but never got to see him. Mm-hmm. And that took a toll. My wife didn't get as much of a breather. I've got an amazing mother-in-law who lived with us for months on end. But for like, kids need both parents.
I definitely agree, man. And I appreciate you sharing that because definitely, in areas now, and I know that, with stuff that I'm doing and I'm, luckily I'm still busy, but just the fact of me being able to work from home, mm-hmm. Where I can, if I wanted to have an hour break, I can take that hour break with my little one or have my lunch with my little one, and be able to just manage my time in a way that I can still have time for her, for my family. I think that's the beauty of discovery through this time, and also realization that something I realized was, for example, like you, if you're tied down in something that you feel that you don't want to be part of anymore, you're in control. And I tell people all the time is, and we've mentioned it a few times in the podcast, is you can't control what's going on there, but you can control what you're doing. And that is the most powerful thing. So if you want more time with your family, if you want a job that allows you to have more time with your family and still do well and be able to be home, or whatever it is you want to do, you're capable of doing that, you know? And I think it's just a lot of it has to do too, where it's where you put your energy into, and that's what you're going to see prosperity come out of. So, you know, I think it's amazing that you shared that, because for a lot of people out there who have, you know, jobs where, you know, they're experience high levels of stress, or, you know, dabbling in between multiple jobs like you did. I know I had that too. There's always ways out, even without the pandemic being in place. There's always ways to shift that. It's just telling yourself you can do this, and then start looking for a different route for yourself and figuring out, well, what can I do that can give me this kind of freedom that I want? Not just financially, but in general, in all aspects of life. And I think when we can start looking at things differently like that, and we can start putting our energy into things like that, I think it'll come into fruition. And that's one thing I believe about is wherever you put your mind, time, and energy into, that's what it's going to be able to flourish later on down the road. So I appreciate you sharing that, because I'm sure there's a lot of people on here that this will definitely help them to start thinking differently and start realizing as well, you know, areas in their life that they feel that, you know what, I need to change this. This is more important. This is what I really want. This is what I need to make happen for me. This is the true life I want to live.
Yeah, for sure.
I kind of want to backtrack a little bit in your career, back to, you know, the moment or moments, right, when you really knew that you had something special with training, right? Whether it be, you know, with your TV appearances, or even training people online and in person. Like, was there that aha moment that you had where you're like, okay, like this is what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, this is the right path for me to be successful, you know, not only monetarily, but also, you know, professionally, with your network, with your interactions with people, the ability to grow and learn as you get older?
Yeah. It's a good question. So when as most trainers, they start with a big box gym, right? So I was at a gym called Crunch, which there's a couple still around, I think.
Yeah, there's a couple down here still.
So yeah, there was like 6 or 8 in Chicago when they closed down. But so I was with a gym called Crunch for a couple months, and I went to a gym called David Barton, which was in Miami for a little bit. That closed down
at the Gainesville.
Yeah.
It was a nice.
How long were you down here?
A nightclub.
No, I was in Miami. I was in Chicago. Was there?
Oh,
I guess their flagship location. So I was with them for a while. I left before they went bankrupt, and there was all sorts of interesting practices why that happened. Mm-hmm. So when I was at Barton, there was a trainer there. There was 2 trainers that were my mentors, and when I was there, man, I had like matching hat, matching headbands, matching everything, you know, like matching laces. I had three armbands for some reason on one arm and one on the other arm. And I had
nice.
JT back on the back of my shirt, like the stereotypical douchebag trainer. That was me. I was 220 pounds, jacked. My eyebrows were overly like, it was, anyways. So yeah, when people say douchebag trainer, that was me back then. So
I would love to see some photos of that. You gotta throw those up on the ground. He's like, I burned those.
No, remember, he's not training anymore.
Yeah.
TBTs,
right.
That'd be good TBTs.
Flashbacks. So yeah, you know, even back then when I didn't know shit, and I thought I knew everything, and the moment when you don't know anything is the moment you think you know everything.
Fair.
I had a boss tell me that at one point. I'm like, wow, that's very profound. So I was working with people, and regardless, I just knew that I would beat the crap out of them. And as most trainers, you try to make them throw up, whatever, make them feel out of shape.
Yeah, only if they show up late.
Yeah. So for me, like the first year of training, like I would just try to kick the crap out of people, regardless of programming or not. Like you have a professional athlete come in, you have anybody do sprints and jump squats for an hour, they're going to be dead. They're going to feel like they're out of shape.
Yep.
So
I would throw up off of that for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was a dick. So,
aren't we all at times?
I'd be training people. And there was this guy named Eugene Thomas, who's still a good friend of mine, and Marcus Warren. Eugene Thomas was a Chicago Bears trainer with Lovie Smith. and Marcus Warren was Mr. Australia 2002. So these guys knew their stuff. And both of them came up to me and kind of took me under their wing. And they're like, your attention to detail. And even when somebody's like squatting, I'm on my knees and I'm watching everything that's going on, even if I didn't know biomechanically what was going on. And they're coming up to me like, you've got something. I've never seen somebody like focus so much in the session. And there could be hundreds of people in the gym and I was focusing on that. I'm like, wow, this is kind of what I was meant to do. And then I went out on my own and people are like, well, you're completely different. You're different. You're different. I'm like, well, I didn't think I was different, but people are telling me I was different. And they're like, what kind of trainer are you? I'm like, well, what kind of trainer do you need? Like, are you like Jillian Michaels or yelling at people? I'm like, do you need me to yell at you? I'll yell at you. If you come in and you're like, what the fuck did you eat this weekend? Like, look like a bloated mess. Some people will, some people will thrive on that. Like, oh my God, I did. But some people would cry. So sometimes you need to hold someone's hand. Sometimes you need to kick them in the ass. And I realized, so for me, my intuition in reading the individual was what started setting me apart. And then I started training some local Chicago celebrities. And then Chef Art Smith, who was on Top Chef Masters, he was Oprah Chef, all sorts of stuff. And then I kept saying that people saying, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. So finally I decided to write a book. I decided in October to write it and I finished it in January, which is crazy. So I wrote that and then it got picked up by the Today Show. I flew out to New York for 7 weeks in a row on Fridays. Then I did another Today Show segment. Then I had Harry Connick Jr. 5 times, Live with Kelly and Ryan. Then I got my own Facebook Watch series and it sort of snowballed from there. And then I started doing all this sort of stuff on camera and getting opportunities like how I met Anthony, like hosting High Rocks and then doing mixed fitness and just all these sorts of things and realizing that I didn't have enough belief in myself in the beginning, but everybody else that had the belief for me helped lift me up. And that's when I knew I was meant to do what I was doing and what I'm doing right now. So even though I'm not training people in person, doesn't mean I'm not in the fitness and health industry. Then I got this opportunity to sign the podcast deal in Fatter Future with Himalaya Podcast Network. And then I just came out with Diet Crash Course with Himalaya. We're doing 20 of the most popular diets in the world and some that you haven't heard of. And so they're paying me for that. And then all of these opportunities started coming along. And then along the line of my network of people throughout the years, like I ran into Anthony like one time and then we started talking on Instagram and then we started talking online and then all these people that you can connect. And as a personal trainer and a fitness expert, you have the biggest Rolodex in the world.
Oh, that's right. I say that all the time. We talk about that all the time.
All the time.
Huge.
Bigger than some of the big people you know.
Yeah, right. I mean, we have friends all the time. They're like, "How the fuck do you know that person?" I'm like, "Don't worry about it. Just be happy that I know him."
Right.
Yeah. Don't fuck it up for me.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's about relationship building, whether it's fitness industry or anything else. And it's who you know, but how you treated those people. Yes. So if I don't talk to you guys for 5 years and I send you a note 5 years down the line and I've got an opportunity or something, you're like, man, that guy came out of a podcast. He was appreciative, whatever. Then you're more likely to jump on that because I didn't ask you for anything. And I started training these movie stars and Terrence Howard, Wumi Masaku, and then HBO would call me up when they're filming a movie in Chicago. I'm like, how did you hear from me? Like, well, you happened to do a show called Windy City Live in Chicago and there was an intern there. You talked to the intern and had a conversation with the intern. And all the other celebrities that were going on the show, like Mark Burnett was on the same show I was, and Survivor and all that sort of stuff, right? So
legend.
So I was talking to the intern, and she had a clipboard. I'm like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm an intern." I'm like, "Oh, what do you want to do? Like, where are you going to school?" That 2-minute conversation. Then she got a job with Empire with Fox. She was standing by Terrence Howard's agent or somebody, and they were asking if they knew any trainers in Chicago, and she's like, "Actually, Joe." Thurman. I met him 2 years ago. He talked to me for 2 minutes on a TV show and I was an intern. And that hurt. She dropped my name. I started training him and then HBO will call me and all sorts of stuff when movie stars are in Chicago from that 2-minute conversation.
Yeah. It's remarkable how that happens, right? It's like, sometimes when you think like one door closes or, something is not going to open and you kind of take like a complete 90-degree right turn. It leads you to some remarkable areas, but you got to have those leaps of faith, and those little conversations and exactly what you're talking about, like the way you treat people is huge.
Oh yeah.
And that doesn't mean that you need to be a giant pushover either, right? Like sometimes you got to be able to put your foot down and understand, like, if I have a business to run and I need you to pay me, like you gotta pay me,
Right. Yeah.
but like you said, like you don't necessarily have to be a dick all the time in order to be able to, be successful.
Exactly.
Yeah, believe me, I'm a dick, but not all the time.
Oh, he'll tell you all about it.
No, but it's so true, man. Like, look, at the end of the day, and it somehow comes into play with practically everybody we get on our podcast. We either talk about who's in your circle, who you're building relationships, who is your team, who are you connected with, who are your 5 friends, so it always gets brought up. And I think it's just to show everybody that it is true. It's how you connect with people. It's who you have in your circle, who's in your space. And then something important that, like you mentioned, one thing that I always do is I treat everybody the same. And I treat everybody how I want to be treated. I don't care if you're the janitor, if you're the intern, like you said, if you're the this, you're the that. I'm going to treat everybody the same, because at the end of the day, like, that's how you want to be treated. That's how you would have wanted to be treated back then as well when you first started. And you never know who that person might be one day, and that's positioned you to have a big opportunity, because that one day came when she was already in a bigger position. She mentioned you. And it's funny because I've had little moments like that too, and I'm sure Josh as well. But it's just those things that I feel like sometimes people don't just act, out of reaction or not without thinking. And it's like, let me take a step back and realize, like, this is a person. This is somebody who has a life ahead of them. This is somebody who you don't know where they might go in life. This is somebody you can even help at the moment. Maybe they're struggling with something currently in their life. Like, just be a human to human, and I think that's the most important part, is when you can keep that human to human interaction and you could just be real and genuine with everybody. You're going to have these opportunities and these wins, down the road for your life. And you're going to be able to experience all these new things coming to fruition. And, the fact that you said that, I think it can really show and prove people that you're a living, testament and truth to the fact of what you've been able to do and how you've been able to connect with people through the fact that, you have these relationships and you continue to build these relationships in a right way, in a positive way, in a way of human connection, in straight up human connection and just being real. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Did you go to school for exercise science, or what did you get your degree in?
No,
so
funny.
College for 5 years.
Yeah,
Van Wilder life.
Yeah. Oh, dude. So I mean, look, when I was in, if my wife listens to this, I got to be careful. So I graduated. Yeah, I graduated high school in 01. And then graduated college in 06. So I went into college and I knew I wanted to play hockey. So started playing hockey. Then I was a business major. Then I was a criminal justice major. Then they didn't have a law major at the time. So I did it's like liberal studies. So it was a lot of philosophy and poli-sci, because I was going to take the LSAT. Back then they didn't have exercise science.
Where did you go?
Southern Illinois, Edwardsville.
Okay.
So now, like, the only thing was kinesiology, which back then, if you were doing kinesiology, you were a PE teacher. That was about it. Right. So that's the closest thing. And now exercise science is in any major university, right? It's huge. So if I would have known about exercise science, or maybe I would have done like physiology or something, then sure. But back then, I don't know. So my senior year, I ended up running into a physiology professor, and they just started a personal training program at the facility. And SIUE at the time was a D2 school. Now they're D1. It's a big school right by St. Louis. And he's like, hey, you should take my personal training course this semester. And it didn't work out with my schedule, but he said, all right, why don't you do an understudy training with me? So I just did this understudy program with him, and I kind of went through training with him and then just wrote a paper. But they don't ever, now they do, but when you got certified as a trainer, they don't teach you how to train people.
No. I mean, kind of now they do.
Now they do. And then now they might say, like, here's how you run a session. Here's how that. But back then it was, here's sets and reps and maybe energy systems, and go. They didn't teach like biomechanics or limb length or anything like that. They didn't know about it. So for me, it was a lot of just learning as I went. So surrounding myself with those, like Eugene, the Bears trainer, and Marcus, and just surrounding myself with that. And then I did this program through David Barton where it was kind of like a CSCS and just started studying. So now I've got, I don't know, so many initials behind my name. I don't know what the hell they, I can't remember, all of them. Like I just got I
stopped putting all the certifications on all my stuff. I was like, just a couple CSCS and the masters and that's all.
Yeah, I just got my corrective exercise specialist during COVID. I'm like, wait a minute, I can't touch people now. So, so it's still great for biomechanics and knowing like injury and stuff. But like, so normally I would stick my elbow in your glute right now and we'd release this and we'd activate this. So now I'm not going to touch you, but get a foam roller. Like, so it's really interesting trying to figure that out. So I took a path of just kind of getting through college to play hockey. And I definitely had my Van Wilder time. And then,
Menace could tell you some stories that I've told him too. It's interesting.
Dude, in college, I got up to 240 pounds.
Wow.
Big boy.
I'm 6'3". Imagine that on skates.
Ooh. So like shit house.
I was so big. Oh, dude, I was so big when I would cut, I'd break the steel on my blades.
Shit.
Multiple times a season.
How many fights?
Oh, so in college,
were you the enforcer? Who was the enforcer?
I was actually a captain in my senior year. I got lots of penalties. Don't get me wrong, but I had like 30 goals on defense, and like I did very well for myself. But there was a time where I didn't know anything about training, so in between my second and third year college, I put on like 20 pounds in the summer. And I came in a mini camp with my buddy who was an All-American, and we're just in jeans and 90-degree weather and tank tops and tan. And, and our coach is like, what did you guys do over the summer? And like, we just
animal pack.
Let's call it that.
So he's like, hold up.
Yeah, we did a lot of that. And I didn't even train on the ice. So all of a sudden I've got 20 pounds on my frame, but I didn't step on the ice in 3 months. So what do you think is going to happen?
Like a baby deer.
Exactly. So it took me like 2 months through mini camp and everything. And coach is like, I really hope you get your legs back because, dude. So like, I didn't know. I just thought like being big was good, but 240 was about 30 pounds too heavy.
A hockey player, yeah, for sure. That's a big boy on skates.
That's a big boy on skates. So I was like 6'6", 6'7", and literally I was such a fucking meathead where our team locker room was 3 or 4 locker rooms in front of the away team. So I'd put all my equipment and I'd tan and I'd go and stretch shirtless by the board. So when the other team would walk in, they'd see this guy and I'm like, oh my God, that was me.
Oh, that's great. That's so good.
We made it to
nationals.
A few
years after that, you invested 30-something thousand on social media.
Yeah, then I invested 30 grand on social media.
To flex on the gram.
To flex on the gram, baby.
Flexing on the ice to the gram.
Yeah, and lost 30 pounds and started modeling for a while. And yeah, there you go. So you got a lot of my bio there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We gotta.
This man has done it all. Literally, this man has done it all.
So what's next? What's next for Joey Thurman?
So, I'm into plug myself.
We love plugs. So
feel free. Fatter Future podcast every Thursdays, available anywhere you listen to podcasts. I'm doing that like every single week. There'll be an episode throughout the entire year. Diet Crash Course just came out on Himalaya. So whether it's keto or maybe you want to do an autoimmune or Western A price or all sorts of different things, you can learn about that. I think it's like $10 like for the whole thing on
that's
Himalaya. If you go to Joey Thurman Fit, I've got links to all this. My custom app just shot, a couple of weeks ago. That'll come out in about 3 months, where it's complete AI technology, where I did 400 exercises in 2 days. Holy crap.
Holy shit, man.
They've never.
That's brutal. That's brutal.
Yeah. They've never had anyone do that before. So like green screen, everything. So like if I want to work out at Mykonos or whatever, like they can put that in there.
Sick.
I did 400 exercises. It was bands, dumbbells, barbell, body weight, intervals, ladder, and I can program this in where if it says you've got, say, hey, I've got 20 minutes and all I have is a band and 1 dumbbell, and I go in the back end and I programmed all this ahead of time. And if it's, you want to do legs, I say, there's got to be 2 posterior movements and there's got to be 1 stability, 1 mobility, and 2 compound. in that 20 minutes, the software will program that workout for you in 20 minutes.
Automatically.
And then me talking about the exercises and you're listening to it.
Unbelievable. That's awesome.
So that'll come out in about a few months. I've got a working title. We'll see it.
Jack by Joey.
How'd you feel? How'd you feel after that?
Dude, I was cramping something. The first day I did 232 exercises. I did.
People don't realize how hard that is.
Dude,
people
like filming
we murder each other.
Filming is harder than the actual.
Because like you gotta be a 10 out of a 10 out of 10. He's always like, oh, let's shoot another one. I'm like, bro, no, I'm a one take type of guy. Yeah. We're gonna go ham for 60 seconds, and then that's it. We gotta move on. We gotta. Yeah, it's brutal.
Every one of them had to be at least 20 seconds for the way the software is set up.
Yeah.
I did 11 and a half hours of actual exercises in 2 days. I was sore for 5 days. I was my quad was cramping. I'm like trying to do a hip airplane. Think about
dying of sweat.
Holy shit.
You're coming home. Your son's all excited. You're like, not today,
dude.
Not
like,
today.
I hate looking at like the the last couple of videos. So I'm like, you look like a fucking wreck. Like, you look like you just got hit by a truck.
I mean, try to do like a hip airplane or stability after doing 70 posterior exercises. Think about how many exercises you can do just with a bar and dumbbells. I did all legs, and then all of a sudden I'm like, no, let's shoot stability. I'm like, oh my God. But dude, it was great. Like 400 exercises in 2 days. Most of the time they said maybe 300 out of people. And for me, and back to like, I had to seize that opportunity.
Yeah.
So I was there for 2 days. I knew I was quarantining for 2 weeks. And even though it was only an hour and a half away in Wisconsin where I was filming from Chicago, I thought, I'm here now. Let me do it and do it right, so I don't have to come back again.
That's right.
So I will add more to it when it comes out in whatever, October or whenever it comes out. But like, I wanted to get it in and do as much as I could. And then I'll have to record voiceovers and all sorts of stuff with the exercises. But I mean, that I'm really looking forward to moving, spending time with my family, online coaching. I've got some other stuff potentially in the works. I used to do a lot of hosting, but we'll see. We'll see about that. I've got some people in LA that are pitching me for some TV shows, but that shit, like, 10 years ago, I used to get excited about that. I'm going to be on a TV show, whatever. I was one of the only people considered for Revenge Body that didn't live in LA for season 2.
Oh.
They didn't pick me because I said, you need to pay me, and all the other trainers lived in LA. So it makes sense though. Like if you're training and you're on a TV show, then you live in that, if they're filming in Miami, you're going to be fine because you still have clients and you can just go film for a couple hours and go back home. But for me, I'm like, I need to take off 3 months. Definitely. So you need to pay me. So like, I've been considered for a lot of those things, but I'm not going to get excited about that until I get paperwork sent to me. I mean, even my Facebook show, which was called Home Sweat Home, we shot 6 or 7 episodes, and this was before its time, before Quibi and stuff. And it was 7 to 10 minute long episodes, which is very short. But now, like, that's people's attention span. Right. It got renewed for 20 episodes, and I didn't know this. And then the Russian scandal happened with Facebook. And then they pulled funding from everything. I found this out a year later. They renewed for 20 episodes. And it was like, holy shit. Because the producer finally told me, he's like, I didn't want to tell you right away, but now I can tell you because it's been a year. So like, yeah, it's great to have those opportunities and people talk about that. But, until it's tangible and I've got that paperwork or DocuSign in front of me, then I'm not going to get overly excited about it. I'm going to focus on what's in front of me and what's the low hanging fruit. If you need money, what's low hanging, right? What can you grab? What can you eat right now? And then
training checks.
Right. Yeah. And then how do you water that tree and continue it to grow? And then, maybe you can grab that fruit that's a little bit higher up.
Right. No, I love everything you said, man. And just something that I'm curious about. So I want to see where your mind is and what you're thinking further down the road. Where do you see health and fitness going to? And where do you feel that people should put some of their attention? That's talking about fitness professionals. Mm-hmm. Where do you think some of these fitness professionals should be putting their attention and energy into?
1, stop doing things for free.
Love it.
Wait, can you say that again? Say that three more times.
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Say that 3 more times.
Stop doing things for fucking free. Stop putting shit out all there. Stop doing all these free workouts.
I need some new pants.
Doing that, right? Like, stop doing things for free. Because would you ask anybody else to work for free?
No.
Why do fitness professionals have to do that for free? Yes, I get it. Like you want to do a collaboration, like Anthony and I want to do a live workout. Fine. We share followers. We do that. That's fine. But like, hey, I'm doing a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, free live workout.
No, you're insane.
Why? Now you got to then 3 months down the road when you don't have any money, and those people have been saving money because they've been working out for free and they've been saving $300 a month on their gym membership.
Right.
And you're asking for money. Now they're like, wait, you want $5 from me? I can't afford that.
Well, it's crazy too, because it's the same people that are like, well, I have this new program out too. It's like they're never going to buy your program if you're giving away 3 for. Nope. You're giving away a program every other week. Like, what do
I heard this quote. I think it was from Brandon Farbstein, who's a 3'9" full-grown 20-year-old man. He's got this rare form of dwarfism. He wrote a book called 10 Feet Tall. Brilliant kid. And he said, your yes will never be as powerful until you learn how to say no, which is huge, because you can say no for doing things for free. And I get this all the time. And I'm sure you guys get these messages. Hey, do this workout class. I've got this software. I'm going to give you equity in a company. Equity doesn't pay for shit.
Hey, I'll give you a 20% discount on this. This shitty Theragun.
Yeah. So you want me to buy something from you so you can make money because your markup is 1,000%? Nah, I'm good. So stop doing things for free. That's huge. You got to know your value, right? So, and how do you assess your value? So for me, I actually lost money when I was doing the Today Show live with Kelly and Ryan, all that sort of stuff. People think, well, wow, you're getting paid to do that. No, you don't get paid to go on national TV. Maybe you're lucky if they fly you out. And luckily they flew me out. They got my car service, all that. How many millions of people would do that for free? Go on TV. So yes, I'm in front of 4 or 5 million people. Now, all of a sudden, that establishes my value. So my value is, hey, author, this, influencer, all these check marks, Today Show, live with Kelly and Ryan. Now when I do a speaking event, whenever we can do that again in person, now they're like, oh, we want to hire you for this. Okay, it's $2,000 for the hour.
Yep.
Oh, well, that's more than we thought. Like, fine, I'll refer you to somebody else. Now they want you. Why? Because they saw me on TV. They saw that. So that established my value. So I didn't get paid for doing the TV, but that established the ancillary income that will come from that.
Later.
So exactly. So you establish that value. And then where is the fitness industry heading? People are always going to want to work out with a person with a personal trainer in person. But right now, obviously, that's much more difficult. So how do you make a shift until hopefully things get better? Yes, you want to start doing things online, but maybe you can maybe you can train somebody outside one day. Maybe you can go and socially distance train them and then write them a program. How can you make that money and charge a little bit more? It's going to be hard for you to charge $200 an hour via a FaceTime session. But maybe you say, okay, it's $200 for the FaceTime session, but you know what? You can text me at any time of the day. You're going to a restaurant, you don't know what to eat, send me a note. I'll look at the menu for you. So you're just establishing that value. So they're paying for your time. So that's how you make money. You can either get more clients or you can get more money from your same clients.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
And then, online is going to be huge. There's going to be a bunch of different stuff coming out, whether it's Peloton, Mixed Fitness, code Joey to get $150 off. Mixed Fitness, which if you buy a Mixed Fitness bike, I get $100. So go ahead and buy that. It's $1,000 cheaper than Peloton. So Peloton, Mixed Fitness, Tonal, Mirror. There's something coming out called Vitruvian from Australia, which is super cool. You're going to see all this sort of stuff. And then people working out in garages and all sorts of things. I think the big gyms are going to be less and less.
You're
You're not going to have 100,000 square foot gym, like a Lifetime and stuff. Maybe they're surviving because they're cool and they're in the suburbs. Maybe they'll survive, but it's just like what happened with retail. Right? Same thing. Amazon is killed a bunch of stuff. And with technology, we're forced to adapt. Uber, taxi drivers. Sorry, it sucks, but this is what happens.
That's what it is.
So how do you adapt? So just having that adaptability. And if you want to be in fitness, look and see what people are doing, follow and copy the successful people. Go ahead.
Yep.
That's fine. The biggest form of flattery is imitation.
Yeah.
So what can you do that is similar to them? And at the same time, what can you do that just slightly differentiates yourself? And that right there will just help set you up for the future and just really be aware and kind of have and research things. Research is huge. Just back your shit up.
Yeah, dude. You really hit it on the nail on the head, because you know, all those things, these are things that, especially now during these times, to really start paying attention to. And I think it's an opportunity for us to be creative in different ways, and to start testing things out and experiment. You know, you definitely want to see and find out what works for you, what isn't working for you, and then move forward with that, and not be scared to try things out. Brother, I really appreciate everything you shared today. I know it's practically like an hour, so we've been rambling on. This is awesome. Yeah, can't believe it.
I keep going. I don't have a job.
Yeah,
That's fine.
We will keep going too.
Yeah.
But then Jenny will kill me.
Oh.
But dude, man,
We love you, Jenny.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
I love you, baby. I have to say it. But yeah, brother, I appreciate, man.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
You
Well, thank
having
you.
this much experience in the field, and you know, just the passion. I just, you know, you speaking with this passion, you can really tell that you're somebody who wants to keep moving forward, you know, keep adapting, and really, you know, educate everybody out there with your story and what's coming out in the future. So I really appreciate that as well. Are there any latest new things that you want to, you know, mention real quick on here? Was it those things that you mentioned? Anything else before we wrap things up?
I mean, no, you know, if you guys want to check me out, Joey Thurman Fit, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that sort of stuff, Fatter Future Podcasts, like do that. But, you know, I put all that stuff on social media, but I think the one thing I want to leave people with is, you know, just focus on it, those people in your life that really matter most, and just take a breath and look at the silver lining in whatever negative thing that's happening, whether it's your, you know, wife, your kid, your partner, whatever. Just look at that and focus on those people. Everything else will take care of itself.
Love it.
Yeah, hell yeah, man.
I think you definitely answered the last question I ask every person on the podcast. I always ask, what's the biggest piece of advice you can leave off to everybody? So you did exactly just that, and I appreciate your time, my brother.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, Joey. We really appreciate it. We can't wait for the next one. You know, hopefully when things calm down a little bit, maybe we'll bring you and the fam down,
That would
enjoy some of this Miami Beach weather.
Yeah, you know, I was traveling a lot, and I was supposed to be in Miami. I don't know, whatever the schedule was, Anthony, but we'll see. 2021 may be different. Hopefully, hopefully it is. But whatever level of Jumanji we're heading into next, just ride the wave and keep playing the game.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right, thanks, Joey.
Much
We
love,
appreciate
brother.
you coming on.